Good morning, everybody. Wednesday morning on a beautiful day. I hope you're doing okay. And it's 10 o'clock, and it's time for scripture with coffee. I hope that you are doing great this morning. And I hope that this little devotional during the middle of the week will help you have a great rest of the week and be an encouragement to you. Again, if you miss me, you can catch me on my Facebook page. There is a way at Tim Williams 1964, or you can catch me on YouTube. That's at Timothy Williams, lowercase 9384. And I will post this on my regular Facebook feed and also on the New Olive group page and various other pages like that. But anyway, let's get into this. I said I'm going to try to limit these to 10 minutes, and that's what I'm going to try to do. Have you ever been misplaced? Being misplaced is a little bit different than being lost, isn't it? Being lost means you just really don't know where you're at all. Being misplaced means that you know the general area, but you may not be where you need to be. I bring that up because not too long ago, I was at Walmart, and I was going down the parking lot aisle, row, if you will. And I passed this one lady pushing her shopping cart back to her car, and she was kind of muttering stuff underneath her breath, so to speak. I could hear it, but I didn't really pay attention because she wasn't talking to me. It was apparent that she wasn't talking to me. But anyway, not too long after we passed, a person from behind a car on down towards the end of the row popped out and said, "We're not down this row. We're on the next one over." And I could tell the lady was turning her shopping cart around that had groceries and other stuff in it, and was going to go back down the aisle and go back up the right row. She was misplaced, wasn't she? Kind of the same way. While this morning I was doing this, writing this up, I thought about Kim and I. Whenever we, not too long after we first got married, we decided to go float the Illinois River here in Oklahoma. And I knew that my dad had a cousin that lived off of Highway 10, the property he took care of for this one person, cattle, butted up next to the river. And when we was camping down in that area during the summertime when I was young, we would a lot of times go walk over to where the river was, and we would watch the people floating down the river. Well, I knew approximately where they lived at. I asked mom and dad, and they gave me the number to call to make sure that we could camp out down there because, we didn't have a whole lot of money, and we decided we would just camp on their property, and that way we could wake up the next morning and go buy tickets to rent the canoe or raft or whatever and float down the Illinois River. But I knew approximately where they lived at, but it had been 20 years since I'd been there, and I didn't really know where I was going. And so we took off, Kim and I, with a friend of ours, and mom and dad told me, well, there's a convenience store right across the road from where they live at. Okay. Well, I'm thinking, being around Oklahoma City area, this convenience store would be open by the time we got there still. It was after dark when we got there. We didn't get off the way we wanted to, and we really wasn't in a big hurry like probably we should have been. Make a long story short, I went right past their house on Highway 10 going north. And I'm thinking we should be there by now. I knew it was a rock house, but do you know how many rock houses are in Tahlequah, Oklahoma, and around Tahlequah, Oklahoma? Just about all of them are, especially if they're any age at all. And so I'm going north on Highway 10, and it's dark, and I pass right by the store because I didn't see it because it was dark. It wasn't opened like I thought it would be. And before you know it, I'm at a stop sign, I believe Highway 10 and Highway 412, and there says a sign in front of me saying, "Welcome to Kansas." I'm like, well, I know I didn't go this far north. And a friend of mine goes, "You didn't go this far north. It's Kansas, Oklahoma." And said, "Look, tell you how long ago this been. There's a payphone right over there. You have the number?" It's like, "Yeah." He says, "Well, I got a quarter. Let's call." And so I called the number, and Jean, my dad's cousin, answered the phone and told her who I was. And she goes, and where I'm at. And she goes, "Well, what you doing up there for?" Good question. What was I doing up there? I was misplaced. I wasn't lost. I was still in the state of Oklahoma, and I knew uh, Highway 10. I could find my way back home, but I wasn't where I should have been at that time, which was camping out in their pasture, so to speak, or yard. And so she told me, said, "When you probably didn't see the store because they closed it at dark. We was expecting you all a little bit earlier. And so when you come back down here, when you see the store, you'll see it going south. We're the house right across from it." We got there. But that brings up a good point. Brings up a parable that Jesus talked about in Luke chapter 15, verses 1 through 10, the parable of the sheep and parable of the coin. Now, we was a lot like the sheep, weren't we? The sheep became lost. The sheep thought it was safe. The sheep was eating and grazing, and the sheep wandered off. Sheep does that. They wander away because they're too busy keeping their eyes on the ground and keeping their nose down and eating, and they don't have good peripheral vision, so to speak. That's why they bleat. The calling of the sheep. That's why you'll hear them call out. They're calling out so as to know where they're at in relationship or proximity to the rest of the herd. But sometimes they can get lost or misplaced. That was the sheep, and that was us. We didn't know we was lost because really we weren't lost. We was just misplaced. Well, we can be that way being Christians. We can be misplaced. We can think we're good. We could think that we're doing okay. But we may not be. We may be in trouble. More trouble than what we think. Well, the parable of the coin isn't really a Christian per se, but I look at it as someone that's in the world that thinks they're saved. They're still lost. They have no idea they're lost because they think they're saved, but they think that since they think they're saved, they didn't really obey the gospel. They're lost, and they have no idea that they are lost. So what's a lost sheep and a lost coin mean for you and me? Well, where are you at? Are you in the church? Have you been saved and you just kind of been feeding and just kind of wandered away? You may not realize that you even wandered away. You may feel like you're just fine, that you are doing okay, but in reality, you're in danger. You've wandered away and you just simply do not know. We can do that because we let life get in the way. We let things like school, work, family, nowadays vacation, health, pandemic, you need to stay away. You can't get outside because this is a bad disease and it might be for you. And so you stay away, but you really don't know what to do, and you really don't understand what you must do to be saved, which is get back to the flock. Get back to where you need to be. Get rid of those thorns and thistles that Jesus says in Matthew, parable of the sower, that choke you out, that chokes Christians out. Maybe you're lost all the way around. Maybe you just think you're saved, but you really didn't put Jesus on in baptism for forgiveness of sins. You're still lost, except you really don't know that you're lost. So what to do? Well, the first thing is pray. If you're the coin, pray that someone will find you to help you find your way to the flock, to where you're saved, to where you'll be safe. If you're the sheep, pray that someone comes looking for you. Holler out. Don't be silent. Holler out. Make phone calls if you have to. Tell someone, I need to talk. I need to know what I need to do, or if I'm doing something wrong. If you're part of the sheep that's still in the flock, pray that you may be able to help someone to find their way back. Teach. Don't be afraid to teach the truth, which means you must know the truth yourself. Seek. Go out and be seekers. You and I need to find the lost and the misplaced. We must be seekers. The only way that we're going to get people to come back to God or to even be with God is if we seek those that are lost and misplaced. I hope that you're neither lost nor misplaced, but if you are, I pray that someone will seek you out and help you. And I pray that you will holler out so that someone who's looking for you, find you. You know, the shepherd wouldn't have found the sheep without it hearing its call. Maybe the shepherd could find him, but it might have been too late. So don't be afraid if you think you're misplaced to cry out so that someone may find you. And if you're the lost coin, pray that someone will guide you in the truth if you don't think you know the truth. I hope that you will have a great week. I hope this has been helpful for you, and I pray that you will be a seeker. Thank you.